The night was dark on the edge of the mining colony. Cold winds blew across the desert land, carrying dust and the smell of burned metal. A single human man lived there. His name was Daniel. He worked as a miner, far from the big cities, far from other people. He liked silence, but sometimes silence felt like a curse. On this night, Daniel was walking back to his small shelter after a long day of digging. His boots crunched on the dry ground. He heard nothing but the sound of his own steps till he stopped. There was something else, a soft sound, like crying. Daniel turned his head. At first he thought it was the wind playing tricks on him, but then he saw a shadow moving between the rocks. His hand went to his blaster. "Who's there?" He called out. No answer. Only the sound of weak breathing. He stepped closer, keeping his weapon ready. Then he saw her. It was not a human. It was a woman, but her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her hair fell in tangled strands across her face. Her eyes were big, shining like wet gems. She was shaking, her arms wrapped around herself. Daniel froze. An alien. She looked up at him. Fear filled her eyes. Then she whispered, her voice broken, "Please, help me." Daniel lowered his weapon slightly, but he did not step closer yet. His heart beat fast. He had heard stories about aliens before, some peaceful, some dangerous. "Who are you?" he asked. The woman tried to stand, but her legs failed. She fell back to the ground, coughing. Her clothes were torn, covered in dust. She looked thin, weak, almost starving. "Please," she said again. "Don't leave me. They are coming." Daniel's brow tightened. "Who is coming?" She shook her head, too afraid to speak more. Tears ran down her silver skin. She held out a trembling hand toward him as if begging. Daniel hesitated. He knew the colony patrol would not like this. Harboring aliens was dangerous. A tease, but something inside him could not turn away. She looked too broken, too lost. Against his better judgment, he put away his blaster and reached out. His hand touched hers. Her skin was cold. He helped her to her feet. She almost fell again, so he caught her. She was lighter than he expected, as if she had no strength at all. "All right," he said quietly. "Come with me. I'll take you to my shelter." Her eyes widened, glowing with a small light of hope. She nodded slowly. They walked together. Through the silent night, Daniel kept glancing around, uneasy. The desert felt different now, alive with hidden danger. He thought he saw lights far in the distance, but maybe it was only his imagination. When they reached his shelter, a small building made of steel and stone, he opened the door and led her inside. Warm light filled the room from an old lamp. The alien woman looked around, her eyes wide, as if she had never seen such a place before. Daniel gave her water. She drank quickly, as if she had been thirsty for days. Then she sat down on the floor, her head resting against the wall. "Thank you," she whispered. Daniel pulled up a chair and sat across from her. "Now talk. Who are you? What happened?" To you, for a long moment, she stayed silent. Her lips trembled. Then she whispered, "My name does not matter. I was taken. I escaped. If they find me, they will kill me. And they will kill you too." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "Who are they?" Her eyes filled with fear again. She shook her head. "I cannot say. Not yet." Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at her, trying to understand. She looked fragile, but there was something about her eyes. They carried heavy sorrow, as if she had lost everything. Finally, she said, in a voice so soft it almost broke, "I have nowhere else to go. Please, let me stay, just for one night." Daniel leaned back, thinking. His mind screamed at him to throw her out, to protect himself. But his heart said something else. He nodded slowly. "You can stay, but tomorrow I need answers." The alien woman closed her eyes, relief washing over her face. "Thank you," she whispered again. But Daniel did not feel relief. He felt tension growing in his chest. He had no idea what kind of danger had just walked into his life. Outside in the dark desert, strange lights flickered on the horizon. Silent ships moved across the sky, searching. And inside the small shelter, the alien woman sat with her hands folded, whispering words Daniel could not understand. Words that sounded like a prayer. He did not know it yet, but this was the beginning of something that would change both of their lives forever. The night was silent inside Daniel's shelter, but his mind was not silent at all. He sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the alien woman sleeping on the floor. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the dim light, and her breathing was soft, almost fragile. Daniel could not sleep. Questions filled his head. Who was she? Why was she running? And why did she say they would kill him too? He looked at the blaster on his desk. He had lived alone for years, far from trouble. Yet in one night, trouble had walked through his door. Suddenly, the woman stirred. She sat up, her eyes shining. In the dark. For a moment, Daniel thought she was afraid. But then he realized she had been dreaming. A nightmare. "Are you all right?" Daniel asked. Her eyes met his, wide and haunted. "No," she whispered. She pulled her knees close to her chest, hugging herself. Then she spoke again, her voice trembling. "I was taken when I was very young. They kept me in cages. They used me, tested me, hurt me." Daniel felt a heavy knot in his chest. He did not know if she was telling the truth, but the pain in her voice was real. "Who are they?" he asked firmly. She looked away. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a whisper that barely reached his ears, she said, "Hunters, hunters." Daniel frowned. "They are not like you," she continued. "They are not like me. They are something else. They take from every world. They steal life. They break what they cannot steal." Her eyes filled with tears, shining like liquid silver. "I escaped, but they never stop hunting." Daniel rubbed his face with his hands. T had heard rumors of raiders, pirates, mercenaries, but the way she said it, hunters, felt different. "More dangerous? Why come here?" he asked. "Why? My colony." The woman gave a faint, bitter laugh. "I did not choose. I ran until I fell. If you had not found me, I would be dead now." She looked at him again, her eyes desperate. "You should have left me, but you didn't. And now, you are in danger too." Daniel leaned forward, his voice low. "What danger?" She shook her head. "If I tell you more, you will not believe me. You will throw me out." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Try me." The woman hesitated. She touched the scar on her arm, a thin mark that glowed faintly under her skin. Daniel realized it was not just a scar, it was some kind of mark. Something burned deep into her flesh. "They marked me," she whispered. "It means I belong to them. No matter where I go, they can track me." Daniel's blood went cold. "They can find you." Here, her eyes dropped. She nodded slowly. "Yes, they already know. They will come." Silence filled the room. Daniel felt his heart beating like a drum in his chest. "Then you need to leave," he said sharply. Her head snapped up, panic filling her face. "No, please. If I go alone, I will die. If I stay, maybe I can hide. Maybe together we can fight." Daniel stood, pacing across the small room. He had always lived by one rule: survive alone. Don't get involved. Don't take risks. But now, this alien woman was asking him to break that rule. "Why should I trust you?" Daniel asked coldly, her voice cracked. "Because I have nothing. Because I am begging you. Because I am not lying. Her hands trembled as she reached out toward him. For a moment, Daniel saw not an alien, not a stranger, but a soul completely broken. He turned away, staring at the wall. His breath came heavy. He wanted to send her out, to close the door, to pretend she had never come. But something in his chest told him he could not. Finally, he spoke. One night? That's all. Then we decide what to do. The alien woman lowered her head, tears falling silently. But there was also a tiny light in her eyes, spark of hope. Thank you, she whispered. That night, Daniel barely slept. He kept his blaster close, listening for sounds outside, and just before dawn, he heard it. A low hum. Faint, but real. He stepped to the window. In the distance, lights flickered in the sky. Moving lights. His stomach dropped. The hunters were coming. The first rays of dawn touched the desert, but Daniel felt no peace. He stood at the window of his small shelter, staring at the distant sky. Strange lights flickered in the clouds, too steady, too sharp to be stars. His gut told him the alien woman was right. The hunters were close. Behind him, she sat silently on the floor, her silver eyes fixed on him. She had not slept. She did not move, except to breathe. She looked calm, but Daniel saw the fear hidden under her stillness. They found you, didn't they? He asked, her lips trembled. She nodded slowly. They always find me. Daniel's fists clenched. He hated being dragged into trouble, but now trouble was already knocking on his door. Then he heard it low, distant vibrations, the sound of engines cutting through the morning air. He looked out again. A black ship glided above the desert. Its surface smooth like stone, without any light except the faint red glow underneath. Daniel muttered, "Damn it." The woman pressed her hands together. "Please, don't give me to them. If you do, I am lost forever." Daniel turned, his eyes hard. "If I keep you, I might be lost too." Before she could answer, a voice thundered across the desert. "Human." Daniel froze. The voice was not natural. It came from the ship, amplified, echoing like thunder. "Return the stolen one. Step outside, unarmed, and no harm will come to you." The woman gasped, shaking her head violently. "They lie. If you give me to them, they will kill you anyway." Daniel grabbed his blaster and cursed under his breath. He had survived pirates, bandits, storms, but this was different. These were no ordinary raiders. These were predators. The ship lowered, dust blowing across the desert floor. Its doors opened, and figures stepped out, tall, armored, faces hidden behind black masks with red lines glowing across them. Each one carried a weapon longer than Daniel's arm. Hunters. Daniel felt his chest tighten. They moved like shadows, spreading out, scanning the ground. One of them pointed toward the shelter. "They know we're here," Daniel whispered. The alien woman grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "Please, don't open the door. They will tear you apart." Daniel pulled his arm free. "Then what do you suggest? Wait until they blast the walls down." Her lips parted as if she wanted to say something, but she stayed silent. The hunters' leader stepped forward. His voice shook the ground. "Last chance. Return her, or burn with her." Daniel felt his blood boil. He had lived alone too long. He had run from danger all his life. Maybe that was why he hated the tone of the hunter's voice. It was the voice of someone who thought they had already won. He turned to the alien woman. "Stay behind me." Before she could protest, Daniel kicked open the door and stepped out into the harsh morning light. Dust swirled around him as the hunters turned their masked faces toward him. The leader tilted his head. A human protecting her. Foolish. Daniel raised his blaster. She's under my roof. You want her? You'll have to go through me. The hunters laughed a cold, metallic sound. The leader lifted his hand, and 3 of them moved forward. Daniel fired. His blaster shot cracked the air, striking one of the hunters square in the chest. The armor sparked, and the figure stumbled back, smoking. The other 2 raised their weapons. Bolts of red energy blasted toward Daniel. He dove behind a rock, the heat burning past his face. Inside the shelter, the alien woman cried out, "Daniel!" He gritted his teeth and returned fire. His shots hit one hunter's arm, forcing the weapon to drop. The third advance, moving faster than Daniel expected. Daniel rolled to the side, firing again. The hunter staggered, then collapsed. For a moment, silence. Then the leader spoke again. Impressive for a human. But you cannot fight us all. Daniel glanced at the sky. More ships were moving in, their dark shapes blotting out the sun. His stomach twisted. He couldn't hold them off forever. Then, suddenly, the alien woman appeared at the doorway. She raised her hand, and for the first time, Daniel saw her power. Light burst from her palm, a strange, shimmering wave that rippled through the air. The hunters nearest to her froze, their armor sparking, their bodies trembling as if something inside them was breaking. The leader snarled, "You dare use it." The woman's voice rang clear, stronger than before. "I will never go back to your cages." The leader raised his weapon, aiming at her. Daniel leaped from his cover and fired, hitting the weapon before it discharged. Sparks exploded, and the weapon shattered in the leader's hands. For the first time, the leader stepped back. But then he spoke, his voice like poison. "You think you can hide behind him? He does not know the truth about you. When he learns, he will destroy you himself." The woman's face paled. Her lips trembled. Daniel narrowed his eyes. "Enough games. Leave now, or I'll make you." The leader let out a low growl, then signaled his soldiers. They stepped back, retreating toward the ship. But before entering, the leader pointed at Daniel. "Enjoy your false victory, human. We will return. And when we do, not even your blood will be enough to protect her." The hunters boarded their ship, and within moments, the black craft lifted into the sky. Disappearing into the clouds, silence returned to the desert. Daniel lowered his blaster, his hands shaking. He turned to the woman. What truth was he talking about? Her eyes filled with tears. She looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking, "there are things you don't know. Things that may destroy you." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted answers. But deep inside, he was afraid of what she might say. The desert was quiet again, but Daniel's heart was not. His hands still shook from the fight. And the words of the hunter leader echoed in his mind. "He does not know the truth about you." Inside the shelter, the alien woman sat in silence, her head bowed low. The glow of her skin had dimmed, as if the fight had drained her completely. Daniel paced the floor. He hated unanswered questions. He hated being left in the dark. Finally, he stopped and looked at her. What truth? His voice was sharp, harder than before. She lifted her eyes slowly. They shimmered with sadness. "If I tell you, you may send me away. If I hide it, you will hate me later. I don't know what to do." Daniel crossed his arms. "Then speak." "I don't have patience for secrets." For a moment, she hesitated. Then, with trembling hands, she touched the scar on her arm. It glowed. Faintly, like a brand burned into her very soul. "They call me a weapon," she whispered. "Not because I fight, but because I carry something inside me. Something they created." Daniel's brow furrowed. "Created? What are you talking about?" She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. They used me. They changed me. My blood can heal. It can destroy. They wanted to use me as a tool of war. Daniel felt his stomach twist. He had expected many things, but not this. She was not just a victim. She was dangerous, maybe even more dangerous than the hunters themselves. She looked at him, her eyes pleading. But I never wanted this. I am not like them. I only want to live free. Daniel turned away, running a hand through his hair. He had saved her life, fought for her. But now he wondered if he had brought a storm into his home. Silence hung heavy between them. Then she spoke again, softer, almost breaking. If you truly want me gone, I will go. I will walk into the desert. But if you let me stay, I promise I will never harm you. Her voice trembled. All I ask is one thing. Marry me. Daniel spun around, shocked. What? Her silver eyes locked on his. In my people's law, marriage binds to lives as one. If I am married to you, the hunters cannot touch me. Even their leaders will respect that bond. Daniel blinked, speechless. He had lived alone for years, never thinking of family, never thinking of love. And now, a stranger on alien was begging him for marriage. He almost laughed, but the look on her face stopped him. She was not joking. Her eyes were wet with desperation, with a fragile hope. You can't be serious, he muttered. I am, she whispered. If you refuse, I will be hunted forever. If you accept, maybe I can have a life. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He didn't know what to feel in Gur, confusion, pity. He looked at her, sitting small and broken on the floor, yet carrying a secret power in her blood. Marriage is not a shield, he said coldly. For me, it is, she replied. It is the only shield I have left. The weight of her words filled the room. Daniel turned away again, staring at the flickering lamp on the desk. He remembered the way she had begged for water, the way she had cried in fear, the way she had stood against the hunters with a light in her hand. She was not just a victim. She was not just a danger. She was something more. Something he could not explain. Finally, he sat down across from her. Why me? Out of all the humans, why me? Her lips trembled, but she forced herself to speak. Because you did not leave me to die? Because you looked at me. Not like a tool, not like a monster. You looked at me like a person. No one has done that before. Daniel's chest grew. Heavy, he wanted to argue, to push her away. But deep inside, something stirred. Something he had buried long ago, loneliness. Still, his voice was steady. I can't decide this now. Her eyes dropped, but she nodded. I understand. I will. Wait. That night, neither of them slept. Daniel lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, while she sat quietly in the corner, whispering in her strange language, as if praying again. Outside, the desert winds howled, carrying whispers across the barren land, and somewhere above, in the endless dark sky, more ships moved, watching, waiting. The desert sun rose slowly, burning the sky red. Daniel had not slept. His mind was a storm of thoughts about the hunters, about the strange woman, and about her desperate plea for marriage. Inside the shelter, silence pressed like a heavy weight. The alien woman sat by the wall, her silver eyes dim, her hands folded in her lap. She looked calm, but Daniel knew she was carrying secrets. Secrets that could kill them both. He strapped on his blaster and checked the door. Something felt wrong. The desert was too quiet. No birds, no wind. Only stillness. When he turned back, his chest froze. The woman was gone. The blanket where she had been sitting lay empty. A trail of faint footprints marked the dusty floor, leading to the back door of the shelter. Daniel's stomach twisted. Rage and fear clashed inside him. She had left. After everything, after his fight, after his risk, after her words, she had left. Or worse, she had been taken. He grabbed his weapon and rushed outside, scanning the horizon. Nothing, just endless sand and rock. Then he heard voices, low, guttural voices, not human. He moved quietly toward a ridge near the shelter. As he climbed, the voices grew clearer. When he reached the top, his heart sank below in a shallow canyon. The alien woman stood, surrounded by hunters. Daniel's grip on his blaster tightened. The leader was there. Tall and dark, his red-marked mask glowing in the morning light. He stepped close to her, his voice like poison. "You thought you could hide behind a human. Pathetic. Did you really believe he would save you?" The woman's head hung low. Her body trembled. "Please," she whispered. "Don't hurt him. Leave him out of this." The leader laughed, a cruel, hollow sound. "Too late. He chose you. That means he dies with you." Daniel's blood boiled. He wanted to rush in, to fire, to burn them all down. But something stopped him. The leader lifted his hand and touched the glowing scar on her arm. "You are ours. You always will be. And soon, your human will see the truth." Daniel's chest tightened. The truth. Again, those words. He raised his blaster, ready to fight. But before he could act, something happened that froze him in place. The alien woman lifted her head. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, not with fear, but with something else. Power. She spoke in a voice Daniel had never heard. Strong, commanding. "You will not touch him. I will not let you." A wave of light burst from her hands, throwing the nearest hunters back. Their armor cracked, sparks flying. The leader staggered but did not fall. Daniel's eyes widened. She wasn't weak. She wasn't only running. She had power. Real power. The hunters roared and charged at her. She fought back, blasting light, her body trembling with the force. The canyon lit up like lightning. Daniel watched, torn between awe and dread. This was no helpless woman. This was someone carrying a weapon inside her soul. But then, as quickly as it started, it ended. Her light faded, her body collapsing to her knees. The hunters surrounded her again, their weapons aimed at her head. Daniel couldn't wait any longer. He fired. His shot struck 2 hunters down, their bodies smoking. He leaped from the ridge, landing hard, firing again and again. Chaos erupted. The woman crawled toward him, her eyes wide. "Daniel, run!" But Daniel grabbed her arm and pulled her up. "Not without you." Together, they scrambled out of the canyon, Daniel firing wildly behind them. Energy bolts scorched the rocks, but somehow they escaped. Back inside the shelter, Daniel slammed the door shut and locked it. His chest heaved, his face red with anger. He turned on her, his voice sharp. "You lied to me." Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't. You said you were weak. You said you only wanted peace. But I saw what you did. You have power. Power enough to fight them. And you never told me." She shook her head, her voice breaking. "I didn't want you to fear me. I didn't want to lose the only person who looked at me like I was more than a weapon." Daniel's jaw clenched. He wanted to shout, to throw her out, to end this madness. But when he looked at her, broken and trembling, something inside him softened. Still, the doubt was there. The words of the hunter leader echoed again. "When he learns the truth, he will destroy you himself." Daniel sat down heavily, his blaster still in his hand. His voice was cold. "You should have told me. If there are more lies, I will not forgive them." The alien woman lowered her head, tears dripping onto the floor. She whispered so softly he almost didn't hear, "There is more, and when you know it, you may never forgive me." Daniel's blood turned cold. He stared at her, torn between trust and fear, between anger and pity. For the first time, he wondered if saving her had been his greatest mistake. The desert night was alive with fire. Daniel's shelter shook as blasts of red energy struck its walls. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. The hunters had returned. Daniel reloaded his blaster with shaking hands. His jaw was tight, his heart pounding like a war drum. He had fought before against bandits, against pirates, but this was different. This was survival against something bigger than him. Bigger than both of them. The alien woman stood in the corner, her silver skin glowing faintly in the flickering light. Her eyes were locked on the door, her hands trembling. She whispered in her own language, words Daniel couldn't understand. Prayers, maybe, or curses. Then the voice came again, booming through the desert, shaking the air. "Human, give her to us, and you may live." Daniel gritted his teeth. "I'm sick of their lies." He looked at her. "If you have more power, now's the time to use it." She shook her head, fear in her eyes. "If I use too much, I lose myself. I become what they made me, a monster." The wall cracked as another blast hit. Sparks flew, metal tearing dot. Daniel raised his blaster. "Then we fight together, or we die together." The door exploded inward, and the hunters stormed in, dark armor gleaming, red eyes glowing behind their masks. Daniel fired. First, his shots hitting one hunter in the chest. The creature stumbled back, smoking. Another rushed forward, swinging a blade of red energy. Daniel ducked, rolled, and fired again. The woman raised her hands, light bursting from her palms. A wave of energy slammed into 3 hunters, throwing them across the room. The ground shook from the force. But the leader stepped inside, taller than the rest, his mask burning like fire. He pointed at Daniel. "You are a fool, human. She is not your ally. She is your death." Daniel aimed his blaster, but the leader moved faster. A bolt of energy blasted from his weapon, hitting Daniel square in the chest. He flew back, crashing against the wall. His blaster clattered to the floor. Pain burned through him. His vision blurred. "Daniel," the woman screamed. She rushed to him, her hands glowing, pressing against his wound. A warm light spread through his body, the pain easing, his breath returning. Daniel's eyes widened. She was healing him. Her blood, her curse, was true. The leader laughed, his voice like thunder. "See, human. She is not saving you. She is binding you. Soon you will depend on her power. You will belong to her as she belongs to us." Daniel pushed himself up, gasping. His chest still burned, but he was alive. He looked at her glowing hands, her desperate eyes, and for a moment, fear touched his heart. Was the leader right? Was she binding him, making him hers? But then he saw the tears in her eyes. Not the tears of a master claiming a slave. The tears of someone terrified of losing the only person who had stood by her. "No," Daniel muttered. He grabbed his blaster. "Again, she's not yours. She's not a monster. She's herself," the hunters charged. Daniel and the woman stood side by side, fighting like one. His shots cut down those who rushed close, while her light blasted across the room, shaking the ground, but the leader would not fall. He moved, like a shadow, striking faster than both of them. His blade clashed with Daniel's blaster, sparks flying. He slammed Daniel against the wall, choking him with one hand. "You think you are her protector." The leader growled. "You are her cage. She will destroy you." It is written in her blood. Daniel gasped for breath, struggling. The woman screamed and unleashed a surge of power. Light exploded from her body, brighter than the sun, blinding. Everyone in the room, the leader roared, releasing Daniel. Stumbling back. When the light faded, the hunters lay scattered, their armor cracked, their weapons broken. Only the leader remained, kneeling, his mask shattered, his face revealed. Daniel's eyes widened. He wasn't a machine. He wasn't fully alien. He was something between a fusion of flesh and metal, a creature made, not born. The leader's ruined face twisted into a cruel smile. You see now, human, this is her future. She is not a victim. She is the next me. The woman froze, her glowing hands trembling. Tears streamed down her face. No, I will never be like you. The leader laughed weakly. It is already inside you. That is why you ran. That is why you beg him for protection. Because you. No, when it awakens fully, you will tear him apart. Daniel raised his blaster, pointing it at the leader's head. His voice was cold. Enough. The leader's smile widened. Then kill me. But when she betrays you, remember this moment. Daniel pulled the trigger. The blast echoed in the shelter. The leader fell, his body smoking, silent at last. Daniel lowered the blaster, his hands shaking. He turned to her. She was on her knees, her face pale, her body trembling. Daniel, she whispered. He spoke truth. My blood is poison. My future is death. If you stay with me, I will destroy you. The shelter was quiet after the battle, but Daniel's heart was not. The dead hunters lay outside, smoke rising from their broken armor. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of dust, fire, and fear. The alien woman sat on the floor, her silver skin dim, her eyes lowered. Her body shook as if her own power had drained her soul. Daniel leaned against the wall, holding his blaster loosely in his hand. His chest still burned from the leader's strike, but her healing had kept him alive. Alive but not calm. Her words echoed in his mind. If you stay with me, I will destroy you. He couldn't shake the image of the leader's ruined face. The warning in his last breath, she is the next me. For the first time, Daniel felt real fear, not of the hunters, but of the woman sitting before him. Finally, she lifted her head. Her silver eyes were wet with tears. Daniel, I must leave. If I stay, I will curse you. The blood inside me will awaken again, and when it does, I won't be myself. Daniel stepped closer, his voice rough. So you want me to just let you walk into the desert and die? She shook her head slowly. Not die. Be hunted? Yes. But I would rather be hunted than see you suffer by my hands. Silence stretched between them, heavy and sharp. Daniel stared at her, his heart torn in two directions. She lowered her gaze, whispering, Unless you choose me. If you marry me, our bond will be sealed. Maybe then I can resist what they planted inside me. Maybe together we can fight it. Daniel froze. Marriage? Again. That word. He had lived alone for years, never needing anyone. And now, an alien woman, broken and marked, begged him for the one thing he had never even dreamed of. He looked at her trembling hands, her desperate eyes. He remembered how she had begged him to save her, how she had fought at his side, how she had healed him with her light. But he also remembered the power that had burst from her, burning like a sun, almost destroying everything around her. If he chose her, he might be sealing his own death. If he rejected her, she would vanish into the desert, hunted until she was captured or killed. It was the hardest choice of his life. The woman crawled closer, kneeling before him. Her hands shook as she reached for his. "Please, Daniel. I don't ask for love. I don't ask for forever. I only ask, don't let me be alone." Her voice cracked, raw and broken. "If you send me away, I will have nothing, not even hope." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, but no words came. His heart pounded, each beat louder than the last. Finally, he dropped his blaster to the floor. His hand slowly closed around hers. "You're not a monster," he whispered. "You're not a curse. You're you. And I'll stand with you, no matter what comes." Her eyes widened, glowing brighter, filled with shock and fragile joy. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "Then, you accept me?" Daniel nodded once. "Yes." She let out a sound between a sob and a laugh, collapsing against him. Her body trembled, but her arms wrapped around him like she was holding the last piece of life she had left. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying the last smoke of the hunters away. For the first time, the desert felt quiet, not with danger, but with strange peace. But peace never lasts. Far above, in the endless sky, another ship stirred in the clouds. Bigger, darker, heavier than the ones before. The true masters of the hunters were coming. Inside the shelter, the woman whispered into Daniel's chest, her voice fragile but full of hope. "As long as you are with me, I can fight. I can be more than what they made me." Daniel held her tighter, his eyes narrowing at the distant sky. "Then let them come. They'll find us together." The desert winds howled again, carrying both promise and doom. The story was not over. It had only just begun.